Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Matt. I'm with Mason, and we're gonna
Yo,
do a commentary on Just Reaper Chapter Two, Enter T.
yes.
Um,
So we'll
yeah,
do a summary. So the how we're gonna do this, we're gonna do a summary, and we'll after the summary we'll get into the details of what went into making this chapter.
yeah, and we might interrupt each other during the summary too, because we're prone to do that.
Yeah, pretty bad at it, but
Um,
hey, it's what we do.
yeah, fuck it. First thing first, do you want to talk about the cover a little bit, or do you want to say that to the talking? We'll say that for the talking
Yeah,
because
I
it's a
mean,
little bit
since
long.
the thing that I do, what I do usually, I do all of the all the pages within the chapter first, and then I do the design last. I do the cover
Yeah,
design last. It's the last thing they work on because I want the cover design to be like anime openings, where it essentially spoils the entire thing, but I do want it to be very interesting, on
yeah,
its own right. Um, but when it came to designing the cover, uh, it it mostly built off of the thumbnail that Matt gives me, and
yeah. So
I think I
yeah,
still have it.
yeah. It's a very poor stick figure drawing, but what will happen usually is that if I thumbnail everything. Like I'll do my little really shitty thumbnails and I'll send it to Mason and I'll give him notes on like what I want to happen in a thing. Um this cover was not the original cover. I don't think I ever even got to send you the original drawing. But the original drawing in an Ultimate Universe, the original drawing would have been T sitting on a crate of weapons, pointing a laser gun at his head. And I think I also mentioned that there was like a neon blood spurting out or something like that.
Hmm.
Wasn't that the original thing? Was that why
Yeah,
we got into an argument? Yeah. Okay, so the original cover would have been T sitting on a crate of weapons or whatever, and he would have had his gun to his head, and there would have been like neon blood shooting out of the back of his head or whatever. And Mason did not like that
oh
at
yeah, I didn't
all.
like that because at the time I
Yeah, he
was
did
like
not like
selling.
that at all.
At the time, I was like selling these books physically at my flea and farmers market, and there's a lot of kids there, and kids and like young families there. And when they see
Yeah,
like see a black guy shooting himself in the head,
yeah. It was very much like but like at the time, we never really had a discussion about that necessarily. I think the one thing we talked off and on about you selling in person the
mhm.
books, because I remember when we finished the like manuscript or whatever, we were like, okay, this is really like dark. Like, this is kind of a fucked up story or whatever. Or when I did the rewrite of the manuscript, because we wrote this like years ago.
Mhm.
Anyway, though, when I did like the most recent rewrite, we talked about you selling this in person, and you were kind of like, I don't know if I should. This is like very like mature. I don't want the kid pick it up, or whatever. But when we ended up doing chapter one and it did so well, it was just kind of like, cool, whatever. Like fuck it, why not? The only thing is, with chapter two, well, I was under the impression. I'll say this. I was under the impression we could basically do whatever because we're independent. So
Mhm.
like, whenever I come up with these ideas, it's usually I go with the rule of cool. Like I'm like, this is look cool. Like, are people gonna kind of get an idea of what the book is, and like like we'll make it based and think it's cool or whatever. So a lot of the things I'll come up with are usually not even related necessarily to the story. It's just more or less like what would grab the eye first. And so when I came with that pose and everything, and I pitched to Mason, Mason was like, "No," and we argued for a while about that. That was kind of a huge argument. But at the end of the day, I kind of saw what he was talking about. You know what I mean? I don't sell the books in person. I work more online or whatever. I just give them to people around me. So it's like it's a bit of a different vibe. It's different from selling to random people because I know like everyone knows me, so they kind of know my intentions and stuff like that. People don't know your intentions when you're selling in person to random people. So
Yeah.
um, we ended up changing it, and I think we changed it for the better.
Yeah.
I think it's a better cover.
With that being said, let's get started with the chapter review.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so we start off with shoot, that's not what I wanted.
God damn it.
Give me a
Gosh
second.
darn it.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Here we go.
One take. That's all a nigga
One
do.
take. It starts off with him. We see have environmental storytelling of T in his apartment, odd, oddly clean enough. Him working on guns.
Yeah. We mentioned this in the chapter 1 commentary. We really didn't sit around and do a lot of art
Yeah,
talk.
it's a
Like, he really didn't sit around and we were like,
yeah.
all
So
right, he lives in an apartment.
So he lives. We open up in his apartment, and we have what was the song called? Sip the Juice.
Juice, Know the
Juice.
Ledge
Yeah,
by Eric B. and Rakim.
yeah.
Or technically it was by Rakim, because he produced and wrote the song, but I guess it was under the moniker Eric B. and Rakim.
Right. Right.
Um,
So we see a nice black fellow working on a supporting his Second Amendment in his apartment. As we see our character Eric come in the apartment.
He's back.
Yeah, when the chorus of Juice comes in, and the first thing that we see is the first interaction we have is our nameless intro character telling him to shut the door.
Now, I'll mention a funny thing is that like originally some like the lines or whatever they say in the next in the next like 5 minutes were kind of like shifted around.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of use of the N word
Oh yeah,
in the first like 5 pages, but Mason decided to shift it around a little bit just so you guys got an understanding of like who these characters were and
mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
Yeah. So in this, speeding along because we keep getting interrupted. I want to like organize the section real quick. I don't know, like if people like this kind of way of this normal commentary, or you want it to be segmented of what happens and then commentary. Let us know in the description. No, that's description. In the comment section below.
Let us experiment.
Let's experiment. Let us know what you want. Yeah. Right. So anyway, he crashed on the couch saying they had a pretty bad day, and his friend says is very caring and really wants to hear him out.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Just kidding. He's just very reluctant. He's really reluctant. I wouldn't say reluctant to hear him out. He's just focused on his gun. What's your interpretation of this?
Oh, well, when I originally wrote the scene, it was like, because this scene is like very old.
Uh-huh.
Like I was writing versions of this scene in like 2017, 2018 maybe.
Uh-huh.
My intention was always like he was just locked in on his thing, and like he's just kind of autistic in that way where he's just like, I don't care about what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then like Eric is like a complainer, so it's like he's just like, oh, this nigga's complaining again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as he finally finished tinkering with his gun, we see that it's not really a normal gun, but it's a
laser gun.
It's a laser gun that he used to terrorize half of Charlotte, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. He's not just a terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that act of terrorism, they just move on back to the conversation, where Eric is not really feeling up to what Satan has tasked him to do, and that's just go after finding an actual demon, when he's just used to being pest control, as you can see, killing this demon roach right here.
Right.
And T's response after him killing that demon roach, he was like, was he always there? Completely unfazed. So I guess he's already attuned to this Reaper life of his. So he only sees it as like a pest control, and he just sees it as Eric's thing. Well, he has his own thing.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're roommates, so it's like they're not like gonna what's the word? Dig into each other's lives. They're just gonna be like like, oh, you do your thing, I do my thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when Eric has a problem with his thing, T tries to like set him straight, telling him yeah, you have your like you don't mess up the flow. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, like fucking do what you're supposed to do. Stop complaining. Stop being a jackass.
Your original version of this page was so bad. It's so funny. But
Yeah, yeah. Oh, like the original, like the way I wrote it, or the original play that you like
the way that I laid it out.
Oh my god, dude, it's
Yeah,
fucking
it was
hilarious.
like see all of this, but imagine there was just one gigantic text bubble just over Eric.
Yeah, it was just like covering the entire page, and I was like, dude, we can't put that. That's not gonna work. And you ended up fixing it pretty well. You split it up pretty well.
Oh yeah,
Um.
yeah.
Anyway,
So
though,
so
he's yelling at
so
him.
this whole page is T going on a soliloquy telling him to nut up or shut up and do his
Yeah.
job. And Eric is just feeling sad about it. T's not really feeling it. He doesn't care. He said his piece and he needs to go to work. And from there, we see a gigantic roach, and that roach transitions to Eric on his job. You know, and
On the
that's how
job. And
chapter
that's
two
the
ends.
reveal of his costume.
Yeah, that's the reveal of what his costume looks like.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
what were your
Yeah.
thoughts
That's
of
the
the
chapter.
first chapter? Oh, the
Or
second
second
chapter. I mean,
chapter.
second
Yeah,
chapter.
yeah, yeah. I love T. I like T. He's a good character. I remember. I think I put in the notes thing. No spoilers or whatever. If you're gonna buy the book, buy the fucking book.
Please
But
buy the
like,
book.
yeah, yeah. When I came up with T, T went through kind of the same thing that Greg went through in terms of like changing of characters and shit like that, or like personalities and stuff like that. T was a bit of a wild guy in the original thing. He was like he was Eric Spoil in a different way, where like Eric was the mature one and T was like the rowdy one. Um, I ended up changing that because I felt like Eric was too immature to be like somebody to like look after somebody else, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like he needed an older brother, but I didn't want to give him a sibling because I thought that that would be a little bit too I don't know, it just didn't seem right to me. So I thought of an idea of like, what if he had a roommate that was like kind of like functioned as the older brother kind of thing, but they weren't related kind of thing. And I think it works out kind of well, like the relation, like you get the sibling relationship through that, but like T can still tell him to fuck off because that's not like his like blood sibling or
Yeah,
whatever. He could be a little bit rough with him.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, what did you think of the writing process with this part? I don't know if you wrote a lot of it. This was mostly me, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I remember when it got to this part of the script, I had no idea. These were all your characters because when I tell
Yeah,
people about Just a Reaper, I said like this is pretty much your brainchild. I just provided the backdrop, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So when it like this is one of the main things I go back to when it comes to writing character interactions because I think you do that the best. I think you do that. I
yeah.
think you do character interactions better than I do. Well, I
Mm,
know you do it better than I do. Um, B and B, when it came to them, I knew that you had a better idea of how these characters interacted, so I just let go of the. Oh yeah, we've written everything in like Google Docs, so we were literally tag teaming the whole script.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you wanted like to have an
Oh,
understanding of like how the script was written, Matt would have his turn of writing the script, and then when he stopped, I was like, okay, I know where to pick up after this,
yeah.
and I think I was like writing the Satan dialogue from the first chapter, but when it got to
Yes,
here,
that's what was. Oh my god, that was
yeah,
so funny.
when it got to here,
What we were
go ahead.
doing is that we were you were writing different parts of the script. Well, I was writing like forward, and then we'd switch off. I'd be like, "Can you write this scene?" I'd go back and write some extra. That shit was so funny.
Yeah. I don't know how to like to visually like have a gift or to
Explain
reference
that.
that. It's so funny
Yeah,
though because I was doing the lore while he was doing the characters. So when it got to this part, I was like, all right, you handle this.
yeah, and you're like, "Okay, let me fix that Satan dialogue in the background." Yeah, no, yeah, this was. I think this was mostly just me. I kind of base I don't really I really had no frame of reference for Eric or T in that regard. I mean, like I said, like I changed their personalities kind of a lot. Um, but when I was writing this, I was just kind of just letting them talk for themselves instead of like me like, all right, well, what do they actually say? Like, what would he say to this? I'm just like, well, all right, well, T, just say what you'd say to that. You know what I mean? I just kind of let my brain just run and just come up with things that they'd say or whatever. T's monologue went through like a couple of different changes. It was a little bit shorter at the beginning, but I felt like T needed to tell him off for real because I think the original script, the reason why I was shorter because Eric didn't really say anything to bother T. Like he just said something like, "Oh man, I just feel weak," and then T was just like, "Oh, stop being a bitch," and walks off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it would be a little bit more interesting to show that Eric does have balls. He just is a coward. Like so, even though he has that side of him, he's kind of like Usopp from One Piece. It's like yeah, he can be a warrior, but usually he's like this. So I wanted to show Eric kind of bucking back a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and I felt like that if Eric would buck back, T would buck back at 10,000 times harder. So I just had him say that part where he's just like, "Oh man, like, you're not giving me real advice," and then T is just kind of like, "Well, fuck you," you know,
I
and
think
walks off.
I think the funniest thing, just outside of the series, like a very meta thing, was
Mhm.
how we always talked about this being it's an action thing. We want it to be cool. Everybody's gonna be like doing backflips. They're gonna be like a lot of
Yeah,
awesome action sequences and such like that. But the first two chapters was just straight dialogue, right?
yeah,
And when we showed it around to Reddit and everybody loved it
they
because
fucking loved it. Like
and
they
that was like
loved
the
it so much
biggest
because
confusion to
yeah,
like the both of us.
yeah, it was like I was shout out to my friend Z. I remember the thing he told me was like, dude, like nobody portrays black people like this. Like this is not like no one portrays black people as just like normal people. Like they don't talk like this type shit on like in comics. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is not normal or whatever. And that's what really he gravitated to was the fact that they talk so like normal, I guess. Like they don't speak like, oh, we have to save the universe. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, no, dude. It's like they're really like they're normal beings. They're normal people, man. And
Yeah.
I think there was a while when we kind of regretted the fact that we didn't add too much action. And I think what we said before was that if we did chapter one again, we would have had an action scene first. But I kind of like the fact that we did dialogue, heavy dialogue, because I think the dialogue is funny enough to where you want to keep reading, and the visuals are good enough to like supplement that.
Yeah.
So like I think we did okay. Again, like if we did it over again, maybe we would have put an action scene. Like we probably would have put something like a fun thing. But
Honest
action does come up.
honestly, with a beginning chapter that looks like this, I you know, it's very slice of life esque because he's not even
Yeah,
doing anything. You know,
yeah, yeah.
he's just
That's
chilling.
true. He is just chilling. So yeah, that is true. I
Well,
do think that we kind of made a we did what we needed to do with chapter ones and two. Um, but yeah, there was that aspect of like we really didn't touch the action part of it too hard.
mhm.
We will kind of later, but like right now we didn't really do too much with that. In terms of writing though, this was kind of easy. Like this really wasn't too complex. Again, I kind of was just stream of conscious, and then Mason will kind of correct me, or like Mason will do a scene or whatever. Um, but yeah, this part was mostly me, and Mason mostly did the first chapter. The first chapter was very much your touch, and then this one is like this is where my fucking like ADHD comes in.
Oh no,
Kind of.
I think the first chapter in terms of dialogue, it was like a good mix between like you and me because
Yeah,
the first line of dialogue was just Greg saying "What's up, my nigga," and then we were
yeah,
just like going back and forth of just what crazy thing is Greg going to say that just made both of us laugh. You know?
yeah. What was the did we have a different this is chapter 2, but still, like, did we have any different like major different like dialogue changes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was Greg's story something different, or was it always the Miami story? I feel like we had something else.
Oh no, we were making no. I think we I felt like we were doing like stream of consciousness with that Miami thing. Uh, and I was like, I think I do remember when I said no, he has to be in Florida. Listen to Flo Rida.
Yeah, yeah, that was your yeah, that was such a gay joke, but I love it.
And he has to
Yeah,
like when Eric wakes up from his dream, he has to talk about a Spanish maid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was your contribution. And in reference to chapter 2, the "Are you gonna kill yourself" one, that is the oldest joke, but every single time it makes me laugh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why I've always liked that joke.
I think
Um,
I
yeah.
think the weirdest thing for me
Hmm.
was even throughout the second chapter, people were still receptive to the dialogue. So that tells me that this is pretty much the strongest suit, you know, the strongest
Yeah,
form
that's
of
true.
this comic.
Yeah, they do. But the way they talk to each other is very is different for comics.
Hmm.
Like, it's not like, maybe again, maybe it's because we write it to be dictated. So, like, it just sounds different, or like looks different on paper.
Hmm.
Um,
Especially when it comes
but
to like panels like this, where it's like very dialogue heavy.
yeah, exactly. Like, this would usually be 2 seconds, and if we were voice acting, like, this is just 2 seconds. They're just saying, rattling shit off. But here it looks like a lot of stuff, like things are being said. Again, and it was like, that's why I trust you to do the art and make sure every shot is like fucking fire, which you deliver on every
Yeah,
single time.
yeah, like
Because
looking bad, like
yeah,
panels like this, it got me like, oh my gosh, this is a lot, and I don't want to like shrink the text too much
right,
because I want readability. And
yeah,
they're saying a lot, and this is also a reason why I have the function that I do, the order that I do. I start off with the thumbnails and sketching, and then after I'm done sketching, I draw the characters first, and then I do the dialogue, and then the backgrounds come last because I have the background is very much not important to me that much especially when it comes to stuff like heavy
yeah,
dialogue sequences. I even did the background. I modeled the entire background in Blender, actually.
yeah. That was kind of, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember you showed me the 3D setup, and I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna be it's gonna be chapter 2.
I wonder if I can still pull it up because I still have the files to it. But as Blender is booting up, I do remember like when it came to like all these different angles, I try to use backgrounds uh, as much as I could because
Hmm.
for me personally, I don't like blank backgrounds. Per There usually has to be something going on. You know, I don't know. It's probably because of like I feel like when something has a blank background, it feels unfinished. Maybe that's why you can see in my other comics, you would be able to see like brushes in a way
Mm.
to supplement a fake background. But this is the what I got for the entire whatchamacallit, the entire apartment. I remember you gave me a reference for Always Sunny when it came
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
feel of the apartment.
yep, yeah. The shitty apartment. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny how you kind of made like a luxury apartment. It's like it's written as if it's like a fucking like crack house they live in. Yeah, it's but like that's kind of one of those things where it's like that's just kind of how it this shit works. Where it's like you can write one thing, but it's not finished until it's like done.
Hmm.
And so like there's a lot of stuff that we wrote in script that like just didn't like couldn't translate. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So like
speaking
yeah,
of which, the added musical section,
the song,
the
yeah.
song that is like one of the most last minute things that I noticed.
Yeah, no, that was crazy because I didn't think you were actually gonna put the song. Like, so again, like this was supposed to be an animated pilot. I think we mentioned that in the first video, but
Mhm.
this was supposed to be an animated pilot. So in the script, what I have is I have T working on his gun with like multiple shots of him work on his gun and fucking sparks going everywhere and shit, to the song "Juice Know the Ledge" by Eric B. and Rakim. And when we were doing this, I didn't know if Mason was going to actually put the like song in the script or not, because we didn't know if it was going to look good or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Like
No,
I
I don't
forget
think we
what
even
the
talked
reason
about. I don't
was.
think we even talked about it. I just said like during the scripting phase, you we were like if you it was you at first you wanted a different song because I think it was
Yeah,
like
I
a
wanted a
Pusha T
different song.
song,
Yeah,
right?
I wanted. Yeah, it was Daytona. No, what the fuck was the song now? Fuck, I need to find it because it was a Pusha T song. You're right. It was. You're fucking correct. It was from Daytona. It was the intro song, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you know, you know. That's what it was. It was either if you know, you know, or the games we play by Pusha T. And for some reason, I just didn't like in my head. It wasn't like playing out correctly. Like the scene wasn't adding up with the song. So I was like, I need a like quicker pace song. Like, and I was like, okay, like T is a little bit older, so maybe he would listen to Eric B and Rakim, you know. So
Yeah,
I just chose that song, and I think it works out better. And I like the way that you have it designed, though. Like, I think it works very well.
yeah.
You listing out the lyrics and the way you spread it out, and still do the multiple shots.
Cause I remember watching this one video a while ago, and it was about how comics it manipulates time more than film, or in a different way than film, because when you have a comic, you can have as much text on a panel, and it wouldn't mess up with the flow, you know.
Right.
And all it matters is how that text is laid out. So like if this was filmed, this whole shot, every shot, if every panel was a shot, it would probably feel like it's been played out a little bit too long. It would feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But because this is in a comic format, you can just skim here, and look at the picture, and even the picture shows a little bit about T's character. uh,
Right.
Looking back, I'm like, this is probably a bit too clean for a guy like him.
Yeah. What's probably gonna happen? What I can see happening is we're retconning a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Um, which like I'm fine with too. But it's a very clean area, and like they kind of live in the hood, like they kind of live hood adjacent. So like if we were to change anything, we'd probably make them a little bit more, make it a little bit more dirty. But
yeah.
I kind of like the lyrics also because it kind of describes T in a way. Like
Hmm.
it kind of does describe who he is as a person. And I thought that was kind of an interesting side. But I don't think I originally drew that in the thumbnails. I think I drew just a one shot of
Oh
T.
yeah. Let me see if I can pull up the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's a really bad thumbnail, but like yeah, it's just a shot of like it's just a panel of T.
Yeah, Eric just walks in, and he doesn't even shut the door, and like the first thing you hear of nigga, you hear of T
Yeah.
is just calling Eric a nigga. And I remember I changed that because how I function when it comes to posting the segments is I posted on the Reddit. I post my segments, like, and segments are around like 6 to 10 pages of a chapter, and I moved on to like the 3 other comics I'm working on. And I the first thing I noticed is when Matt and I write dialogue, they don't name each other at all.
Ever,
Like they
ever.
talk like they actually know each other, but they don't
Yeah,
talk like
that's yeah, and that was a problem I realized in chapter one. I was like, dog, we don't have him say Greg's name at all. Like,
yeah, like
it's really
it's like
fucking
they're
confusing.
beyond first name basis. They just know that they're talking directly to each other.
Yeah, and so what my pitch was for a while, I was like, okay, maybe we should start making real use of text boxes. Like maybe that's which we should do that. Like make sure we're getting certain information across. But then what we realized with chapter one and what people liked the most about it was the fact that people were like, "Oh, this should be animated," and I like the fact that it's made as if it's animated.
Mm-hmm.
So instead you said that they should just say their names or say certain things
Yeah.
or whatever, or show that they're doing a certain thing
Yeah. I think also in the thumbnails, they just like he just gets into the conversation and
immediately.
yeah,
Yeah,
immediately saying like, "Is it bad that I want to kill myself or whatever?" Um, and I just said like, "Okay, this is the first time we're actually being introduced to him." So I'll say, "Hey T, is it bad that I want to kill myself right now?" And then after that, they got the introductions that out of the way. And I think that's so weird that I noticed in a lot of comics and a lot of manga when you introduce a character, they're like, here's this character," and it's not, it doesn't. I like feeling like you're a fly on the wall, you know.
yeah, for sure.
And when when you have that feeling of I don't know, it kind of picks up in when in conversation because picks up a conversation. Let me scrap that and say because my brain just farted for a second. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
no,
I just like the idea of people talking to each other as if they talk to regular people, instead of and having people pick up on their cadence or picking up on their personality as the longer they're on screen. I
no,
like
for
that
sure.
natural idea. I don't like for me personally. I just don't like saying, "Oh, this is the character. This is their age. This is whatever." It's like that, like all this, because I'm like, no, I guarantee you're gonna forget all of this information: their age, their bio, their blood type, or whatever. You're gonna instantly forget about that because from when I'm watching anime or reading comics or whatever, I even forget their names. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah,
if they're just telling me like where they are because I'm gonna forget about that. I'm gonna remember what their purpose of the plot is going to be. That's what I meant to say.
yeah. I think and we don't really reveal much about Eric until like really later into like other story arcs. And I kind of like that we don't, because like a thing I notice like even like culturally, like black people don't like reveal their business a lot. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's not a thing that happens um a lot. So like I kind of wanted to put that in there where it's just like yeah, Eric is not going to talk about his life a lot or whatever. Like he only has a certain, like he always speaks when he needs to be, or when he needs to speak or whatever. Like when he has something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And even T kind of functions like that. And then Greg's just kind of like an open book and just like, oh fucking, I was fucking Latina bitch shit is fucking, you know, I know fucking Miami flow right or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Chapter two, fucking fire. Chapter three, coming whenever. I think that one's gonna be pretty good too.
Absolutely.
Um, hell
Any
yeah, man.
yeah. Any other thoughts for chapter 2 before we head off?
What do you rate chapter two? 1 to 10.
Um, I rate it like a 5.
Yeah, I would give it a 5 too. It's very dialogue heavy. Um, I think if this is probably a thing we should mention, but I really don't find it that much. But well, like chapter two was supposed to be longer. Like chapter two was supposed to be like way longer. And if chapter two went the way it was supposed to, chapter three would be a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now what we decided to do is we decided to make each chapter at least like 20, like 18 to 20 pages, or not 16 to 20 pages, or like 25 pages or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why NRT is so short is because we just decided that like we need to put a limiter on what we're doing each chapter, which I think kind of works for us. It still works for us because I think we end our chapters and like areas they're supposed to end, like you know what I mean, like we're pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I give it a 5 too. It's like I said, it's very dialogue heavy. It's there's not really a lot of action going on. It's still good though, like I still think it's funny. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the first thing that comes to mind when I give like pretty low scores, because I know the salesperson and me and you are saying, "Oh man, you gotta say this is the 10 out of 10. You gotta buy it now." But
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, I just want to be honest about what we're making. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
like I
it's like the truth of the matter is that when you're making stuff, like yeah, like you want to dick write it to like make people want to read it, but in all honesty, you not 9 times out of 10, we're just kind of like it's fine. Like
yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
like someone comes to me is like, "What's your favorite part about Just the Reaper?" Uh, the fact that we finished it. That's my
Yeah,
favorite
it's
part.
fucking done. Like we don't have
It's
to think
done,
about it
and
anymore.
that's not a
You
way of
know?
saying like, oh man, I was slaving away. I hate it. It's like, no, I like the story that we tell. I think it's important that we get it out there. I'm ecstatic that people who read it, they love the characters, they love the dialogue, they love how real it feels. I'm when I say like I'm glad that we're getting it done, or when we finally finish the entire volume, I'll be so glad to say, oh yeah, we have that done. We contributed to making good media. And if other people say that it's garbage, I hope they tell me that it's garbage so we can talk about how we can make it better. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and and I'm just not the type of guy to like the stuff that I like is not like just to like you know what I mean? Like I'm not like you know I'm not dick writing my own thing
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like I just never been that type of guy. And then like I'm always working on new. We're always working on new ideas. Like you know what I mean? Like we have another comic that we're doing like Metal Hero and shit. And like I think when you are focusing on so many ideas at the same time, like you just don't have a connection to the things that you make in an emotional sense. I don't think any creator should have an emotional attachment to any of their products. Like, I think you should put all your blood and sweat into it, but
Yeah.
like, I don't think you should be sitting there like, oh man, this is my magnum opus. Oh my gosh, like you
That
know what I mean. And I'd never do that for
that
Just Reboot, even though
that
I think
is
it's good.
okay. So taking a step back, that's a crazy. That's a very controversial thing that I feel you just said. But I agree.
Oh
I
really?
agree. Yeah, just
Is it really that controversial?
I feel like that's controversial. Like, would I don't know. I guess I've been on Twitter for too long, saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, saying that like you're making a product first and foremost, and if people aren't messing with the product, then you need to figure out what the heck is going on. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
don't know why that's, but like, but here's the thing though, is that like me and Mason have history and like sales and stuff, and I think the thing you learn when you're selling stuff is that like you can only have a certain amount of connection to it. Like you have to get rid of it. Like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're selling cars, you're selling internet, or you're selling fucking car repair, whatever you're selling. Like you have to get rid of the product. Like you can't just hold on to it and be like, oh well, I don't want to give you this one. Like you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
maybe that melts into like the way that we make Just Reaper or our content, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm like, dude, like when it's done, it's done. Y'all niggas just need to read it. Like that's all I'm at with
Yeah.
it. Like, I'm not
Because
gonna hold on to it and be like, oh, this chapter is so special to me because oh my god, like no, you know what I mean? Sure, do I put my own experiences in Just Reaper, and other stuff that I make? Sure, and I'm sure Mason does the same thing with all of his fucking. Mason has like 4 fucking 5 series, so it's like he's like always doing that. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, it's him. You know what I mean? It's like at some point you do have to just let go of the thing you're making. It can't be your baby all the time. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
an inanimate object. Like, fucking, you got to get real sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But call to action to this thing: subscribe, like the
Subscribe,
video,
like the
and
video.
subscribe to Dope Man 5G. Subscribe
Yeah, that's me.
to go check out. Subscribe to this the newsletter in the description right now, so where you can get updated for the next segment of Just a Reaper. Do you want to
All
do
right.
you want to do these segments to like let people know when a segment is out, and so we can have like have our thoughts on the segment, or do you want to just stick with chapters?
Chapters, because we can do longer. It's like longer. And it's more like meaningful. I think we do segments. We can only talk about so much, and like if I don't know, yeah, maybe we should start doing just chapters, and we can get more stuff off. I guess you know.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
So
yeah, no, yes, subscribe to the Substack. Buy Just Reaper on Amazon. It keeps our lights on.
absolutely.
And yeah,
Oh yeah, and if you also have executive friends, tell them about us.
Yeah, if you are friends with anybody at Adult Swim or
Yeah.
Fox or
Disney,
Goldman Sachs,
yeah, Disney. If you know Donald Glover personally, that'd be great.
yeah, if you know Donald Glover, I don't think he'd like this, but if you know Donald Glover, tell him to fucking hit me up. I want to
Yeah.
talk to him. I have some beef with that nigga. Um, when I was younger, I wanted to be a comedy rapper. Like I wanted to make comedy, and I also wanted to rap. And then I found out he existed, and then I heard Camp, and I hated it. And I was like, this fucking guy. And then I heard because of the internet, I was like, hey, you're a good guy, man. You're good at this rap shit. Anyway, though, if I see you, Donald Glover, we gotta scrap. Anyway,
Anyway,
bye,
peace.
peace.